Hello once again to another GC9x livecast. I'm Bobinator, and tonight we're looking at Wild 9, a particularly interesting entry in the later life of Shiny Entertainment, the creators behind MDK and Earthworm Jim. Today with us we've got...
I'm Carl. Hello.
We hear you.
This is Snarboo.
And I'm MrArgent.
Wild 9 is a 2.5D platformer, much like Klonoa or any other sort of similar game on the PlayStation. And honestly, I would say it makes a better Earthworm Jim sequel than Earthworm Jim 3 actually was, even though it has a completely different universe and character. It still shares very similar gameplay, including the traditional shiny feel that some people may or may not be as fond of.
I could easily see you replacing the main character with Jim, and it would be an Earthworm Jim game. Like, I'm not sure if they decided to reinvent the game as a not Earthworm Jim game, but definitely this game could have been potentially a Jim game if they wanted it to be.
Shiny lost the Earthworm Jim license to Interplay after 2, didn't they? That's what happened?
Something happened there. I don't remember specifically what.
I know this game was supposed to be actually 2D at one point, but I guess the current market made it go 3D.
Right, there was some behind-the-scenes thing I remember reading as I think a child, actually. It might have been in a weekly reader talking about game design or something, if you remember those.
Sadly, I don't think there's any screenshots or video of the 2D version, which is a real shame. Like, not a
Right,
single...
but I just remember reading that there was that they were doing tons of frames of animation per character with this. And then I guess they scrapped all of that. They scrapped the thousands of frames of 2D animation they had produced for the game.
What you have to understand about the PlayStation 1 is it did not handle 2D particularly well.
Yeah.
Right, only the Saturn did, right? Like, not even the N64 certainly didn't handle it very well either.
Not to mention, at the time, wasn't Sony kind of actively hostile towards the idea of having a 2D game on the system in some regions?
There
Right,
were
that
2D
started up
games,
around that time.
probably most notably Symphony of the Night, just not as many as, say, the Saturn.
Right.
As you can see by this wonderfully late 90s cover, the whole gimmick of the game basically is that you have this energy beam known as the Rig, and you do bad things to your enemies as pictured. Or, it's not really torturing them, just kind of killing them kind of painfully, but, whatever.
Yeah, logo.
Yep.
So this came straight after MDK, I believe.
Yeah, it was around the same time, if not before. It was after. I think it was actually before. I seem to remember MDK was after this, wasn't it?
What? No, I don't think
MDK,
so.
yeah,
I think
MDK
MDK was earlier.
That was at
MDK?
97, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. MDK actually used lots of 2D art in it. This one is purely 3D, I believe.
MDK is 96, I believe.
Yeah.
This is 98.
Actually, I
Yeah.
think some of the collectibles are 2D. Like, there's some other 2D elements here and there.
There's a bit of 2D
Yeah,
stuff
the
we'll be
main
seeing.
collectible, the Rig Energy, is 2D. Hey, Tommy Tallarico, by the way, guys. Tommy Tallarico.
What is he doing nowadays? I guess he's in that game orchestra now, right?
Right.
he does video games
I don't know
live
if
or
he's still
whatever it is.
composing. I don't know if he still composes soundtracks.
I actually
yeah,
had
look
a,
at that PlayStation era logo right there.
I actually had a Tumblr
Wow,
page for the...
this is so aggressively PlayStation right here.
Yeah.
That looks great.
The way the menu works.
I was going to say, I think I might have had him following me on Tumblr for a while, funny enough. A page for the orchestra he was part of followed me a while ago, and I kind of expect he had some role in management there, because this is right after I posted a bunch of music from MDK.
So this is
It's
the game.
probably an bot that did it.
We control a
Could be.
teenager known by Wex Major, who has this energy beam thing strapped to his wrist known as the Rig. And there's a lot of plot in the manual about this evil space overlord, but none of it actually shows up in the game, so it doesn't really matter. Nor do the other NPCs who are supposedly part of his space team.
The
Oh
other
no,
random
his
adventures
team
he
members
follows
show
around.
up. They just don't show up in, like a story fashion.
This game doesn't really have a plot inside the game itself.
It's
Well,
very
the
similar
plot-
to Earthworm Jim in that respect, because Earthworm
for
Jim did the
anyone
same
that's
thing.
interested in the plot, and this will anger particular people in the audience, but the main female character has been kidnapped, and Wex is trying to save her.
Right. Well,
That's-
this game came out what in the mid-90s. That was pretty cool. And still is.
The thing is, like, in the context of the story, the character is actually like a superhero, very strong, ultra, like, very powerful woman, and so she is being kidnapped, and Wex has to go help her.
And he's like the runt of the team or something.
He's kind of useless, except for the fact that he's the only person in the universe that can wield the all-powerful ring, which is not exactly a super weapon as far as I'm concerned. It's just kind of a grappling hook thing.
Right.
But yeah, most of the game's
Really?
combat is done through the rig, just grabbing people and slamming them around, and sometimes throwing them into dangerous things. Which is kind of cool, but a bit unwieldy at times, to be honest.
It's extraordinarily unwieldy.
Yeah, it looks unwieldy, but the visual effect is really nice.
It is a 2D element. I'm gonna point this out because it's bothering me. Bob is not playing this on a PlayStation. The black artifacting that you can see sometimes, that is not present in a actual copy of the
Right.
game.
That has something to do with the background now. That can also be due to the filters he's using, and PlayStation emulation is not perfect.
This is the
Yeah.
Menathen core of RetroArch, technically, if anyone's curious.
Okay.
So,
I will say
yeah,
the effect on the beam definitely evokes a Raiden 2's plasma laser for me personally,
Yeah, I
which is
can see
something I
that.
like.
What was I going to say? Okay, so this game actually has a problem a lot of shiny games, and really a lot of games of the era did, and that most of the story was in the manual. MDK was like that. There's a bunch of other games that did that too, because they just didn't have the budget or the know-how to present the story in game. You know, they might not have had time to pre-render cutscenes or whatever, or the budget. I mean, when did the pre-rendered cutscene craze really take off? Was that in Final Fantasy VII? That really sort of...
I don't think Final Fantasy VII, I would say, did popularize it. It wasn't the first game to.
Right, to do
have
that, I
CG.
meant
Yeah,
that was very common
mean,
on the Sega CD, even in
it-
PC games.
yeah. Like PC games have been doing it for a long freaking time because they had lots of CDs and they could do that.
Oh, I was
now,
hoping you
Bob,
could slam him against the ceiling there, but no.
I will ask. If I get you the level select sheet, will you utilize the level select sheet?
I think you already had it
Because,
activated. I noticed all the planets were
No,
available.
that is just the map screen.
Oh, is it?
But yeah, I
the
can do
maps
that,
won't
Cal.
let you progress. Because the level select sheet, the reason I mention it is the game actually has vastly different levels. It doesn't cheap out on the visual quality of the levels. Everything is different.
I will play the first
and-
level just to show off the journal gameplay.
The
Right.
first level is like mostly a tutorial level. It's really just getting you used to the concept of the game before it adds extra things to do within the game.
Note that those enemy generators, if they go onto you, they will kill you instantly. They can you.
I don't believe they kill you instantly, do they? I thought if you have any health, you get flung out of it.
I've seen it have, and I
But-
wonder how much health you have, actually.
It doesn't matter. You can kill enemies with a spinning fan here if you want.
I would have... Oh yeah, the fan in the background.
Yeah,
That I'm
you
pretty sure
get blown
kills
off.
you instantly too, if you're in its way.
Yeah, I think so.
This game
It
has a lot of
blows them off
death.
the stage.
Yeah. So can you grab those guys' missiles?
I don't
No.
think you can.
Oh, that's a lost opportunity there.
I also think this
I-
game looks pretty good, honestly, even for a 2.5D
Can't remember
game.
if you can grab the thing. I'm gonna tell you how to do this level select sheet because it's really easy.
Okay.
Um,
Can that wait till I'm done with
you
this
just-
level?
you actually have to do it in the middle of a level. It's
Okay.
a button command within
Let me
a
go and do
level,
that
so,
then.
I'll tell it's you pause the game and press up, left, down, R2, right, square, X, which is
Got it.
long, but that is a up, left, down, R2.
I got it. Don't worry.
Right, square X. Yeah, I'm sure.
And it registers and gives you a little jingle, I assume.
Yeah, that noise.
Yeah. And that will let us see some of the game's more complicated levels, because the second level is not... It's kind of cool, but it also stretches on for a long freaking time, so I would
It really
probably
does.
move
I can
further
confirm
ahead.
that.
Yeah. This is a really pretty game on the subject of the visual direction.
I'd say even in
That's a pretty
3D,
good
they got the animation down really well, like the way Wex
Yeah.
moves and everything.
That was kind of a shortcoming with a lot of games from the period, just because they were still kind of acclimating to the idea of 3D animation as a real-time thing.
They got the feel down.
Like, They must have actually been using a... I wonder if they used a skeletal rig for this game, or if they... I can't imagine they did just vertex-based animation for this.
It's hard to tell, really, because I can't remember. I think skeletal animation might have been costly because that works really well if you can do floating point numbers.
Well, what you can do is you can bake out the...
Oh, right, yes, I get what yeah, they didn't do it, they might not have done straight vertex, it might be vertex in game, but what they did is they already pre-canned the animations using the skeletal modeling system or whatever. That's also fairly common. What are these weird green things you're...
They spawn from the, those, slime tanks that, until, like, basically spawn from
the
people
game's
blow them up.
mascots, they don't really do anything, they just try and jump you. If you get hit, you take a little damage.
I'm all
So, yeah, what you can see, Bob's picking up these energy things. If it gets enough of them, the rig does exactly what it just did, and it goes red, and then it lasts longer, and it now burns enemies.
I think the rig will go out if you leave it going too long, but that's generally never an issue.
It'll become an issue when you have to do swinging and stuff, because it recharges over time. It's not instantaneous. Yeah, it's a nice little system. And yeah, you've got lots of things that you can do with the enemies. And yeah, like, you could have put that guy into the spinning fan here, which you really should put one of the enemies in, like, one of the spinning fans or something.
If I find... Oh, here's something to show off. These guys you have to kill in a special way to progress. We can't get past these grinders unless we put enough guys through them. There's how a lot of puzzles in this game are trying to solve.
Right, with the blood and everything. Sparking.
Yeah, that weird steam coming out of the machine as it produces enemies.
Yeah, this game's got some really nice particle effects, I'll say.
Yeah, really pretty.
This game's really violent at times. Like, in the second stage, there are these spikes you have to lay enemies across on, and you jump on them, and the guys twitch.
Yeah.
Well, they twitch until you jump on them, and then they stop twitching.
That's even worse, honestly.
So it's very similar, so what you're telling me, it's very similar to the first stage in, what was it, Doom Troopers for the Sega Genesis, where you shoot these guys on a waterfall and you ride their corpses across to the other side.
There is a lot of violence in this particular game. And the casuality of the main character is so great as a juxtaposition.
He has all the catchphrases, and they're all kind of terrible.
He has pure 90s tude. I love him so much. Wexcellent! That's cool!
I totally just killed that man and now made all of his children orphans.
I think they're all robots. That's how they get away with the context of the game.
Well, robots can have children too. They
Robots,
can be robot orphans
aliens,
I think they're just alien robots. I don't think anything in it actually.
Yeah.
They're robots that feel pain, because obviously Karn, the
well, you
evil
gotta
villain,
torture
decided
your
his-
enemies.
Yeah, his army of henchmen needed to feel pain.
Mm-hmm.
Just check and see if I missed anything.
I like
back
how
here.
that's the tagline on the official like box art for the game, or the jewel case, and it's in that extreme 90s sort of font with like it's like etched into some like sticker or something.
Yeah, the
You
weird
know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, the weird typewriter looking deal.
Right.
See, it's funny, because that's the US cover. I can't show people the Australian and European cover. But if you look up the European cover, it's a much more restrained, doesn't even really say what's going on in the game, it's just kind of, it's just got the name of the game on it.
And then there's the Japanese cover, which renames the game Wild Droid 9, which is a different thing entirely.
See, seeing
Wild
the cover, the
Droid.
PAL cover, I would never know what this game was, and I
It might as
probably
well be a
wouldn't have played
puzzle
it.
game.
Right, yeah, it does. It sounds like a puzzle game. Like it's like some bizarre match 3 variant to solve like for cubes or something.
I like the fact that all the enemies scream when you pick them up with the red flaming thing.
It's great.
I'm surprised no one has attempted to just recreate this game, because there's a lot of potential there now with physics and whatnot.
Yeah,
I
everyone
feel
loves...
like this game as a whole has been recreated just in bits and pieces.
Right, it's not the entire package. Like you have the grappling hook stuff, like in Just Cause.
You could probably do something sort of like the Bad Commander reboot pretty well, since... Well, people don't love that game per se, but it is, it does have some good swinging mechanics they can borrow.
Decapitating enemies.
How did this game get a teen rating, by the way? Because I noticed on the cover art it had a teen rating.
Robots and green blood.
Yeah, and it's very cartoony too. That probably helps.
Could they get away with that now, especially if the enemies in the game seem to suffer actively?
You'd probably have a hard T, probably, I guess.
I mean, it is a cartoony game.
You can back away from this guy
Well,
a bit.
you have to get behind him, yeah. I like these guys. This is like one of the first actual puzzles, I guess, that the game has.
One of the actually first difficult enemies that you have to make use of your abilities.
I'm trying to get him
Yeah,
back
you
into
can
the
see-
air.
Also, one of the bits that feels very much like shiny is the fact that the ejection pad in the background has this hand that it pulls that ejects the people out.
Okay, and that's what
It's got a lot of British absurdism, yes. Very Monty Python-esque in a way.
Yeah.
Now that's pretty cool that you can actually make use of their abilities to get further into the stage.
that's how a lot of puzzles in this game work, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that maybe part of the reason this game is a little bit of a flop is that because it's 2D, you know, like the system of puzzles isn't as strong as it could be. Because it is 2.5D. I said 2D, but it plays on a 2D plane. The fact that it's 3D is inconsequential.
Also, you do get special weapons, what I just used, if you don't want to...
Yes, you get rockets and grenades. Unfortunately, grenades and rockets, while they stack, I think up to 9, or maybe it's 9 rockets and 3 grenades. Unfortunately, if you pick up the other type, you just lose whatever you had if you had the opposite type.
Oh, I hate when
Ooh.
games do that.
Yeah.
So if you've been hoarding rockets, it'll be like, nah, now you just get 1 grenade.
And I take the grenades, they're kind of crappy.
They're good, but they basically make enemies run around screaming, and then they clear the whole screen. Now, I will mention this, but it's not really that important. If you try and grind enemies by killing them from the ones that spawn in these machines, you get diminishing returns on the amount of energy you get. The first one's 3, second one's 2, last one's 1, and then nothing after that.
So you can't grind. Oh, I guess that's good in a way.
Also, as you might have noticed, killing enemies in alternate ways other than breaking them apart with a rig doesn't reward you with energy, which I always felt was really dumb. Because you're basically discouraged from killing them in the environment.
There's a couple of games that do that, though, and I'm trying to think. They don't want you to take the easy way out, basically. You can use that, but I guess they just don't want you to do it all the time.
Yeah, it's not great. Like, the fun part about this game is tossing them into the environment, and the game kind of encourages you not to do that.
Okay,
Right, because you need the rig energy.
so here's one of your teammates, and these guys
Yay,
get
it's Vault Stag.
backstory and such in the manual, but here in-game, they just kind of help you do a thing, and then they just kind of disappear forever.
Well, in the first level, this level, yeah, Mr. Volstagg is completely pointless. He just pushes this thing off the edge. But in the second level, the one that you get explodes, so you have to carry him around to explode doors open. In the level after it, the big level after it, the guy you pick up actually has a machine gun, and you get to use a machine gun for a bit.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So they kind of mix it up a little bit. That's always good.
Although the guy that you pick up with the machine gun, his ability, I think he's supposed to have infinite pockets to like multiple dimensions and stuff, so he just pulls stuff out of his pockets, like I think like the guy from
Scud.
Disposable Assassin, Scud.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's like that. Just pulls
Yeah, there was a guy that was
out.
just a bunch of zippers, and he could open them up, and I think things would come out.
Yeah, it's like that, but hey, the torture percentage.
That's
Now,
basically just
this
your
is
kill
the-
percentage, I believe.
No, I don't think it's not your kill percent. The torture percent is the number of different ways that you killed people, I believe, based on the
So
level.
there's like if you get 100%, you've tortured them in every possible way.
Alright, Cal, I have every level open. Do you have any particular place I should go?
I think Light Armada is one of the drop stages, isn't it? Or which one's the drop stage? Yeah, Light Armada. Go to Light Armada. Let's start with that. Because this game actually has a whole different set of levels as a special set
Oh yeah, this
of
is
levels.
the race level, isn't it?
It might be?
Look
I
at
was
all
hoping
this
it was the other
concept art
one,
they
but
use
that's
for
fine.
the loading screens that isn't in the game. Like, who is this dog guy that keeps talking to you, or is he a cat?
Oh, the
He's
dog guy
real
lives in the
too.
rig.
Ah, okay.
The dog guy lives in the rig. He's a bat.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, he talks to you in the manual. He has to use the rig. So yeah, this is one of the 2 mini games that the game has.
Kind of like
Well,
Andy
2.5.
Asteroids and
Yeah, this is
the-
basically Andy Asteroids from the looks of things. Oh god, you're on fire.
In
That's
this
no
one,
good.
this is way fairer than Andy Asteroids, since you don't have a time limit or anything in this, you just have to blow the guy up. So, just dodge things, collect missiles, hit with a missile. And there's also a second kind of missile, I believe, that I think there's homing missiles and there's the regular missiles, and you can pilot the regular missiles by just moving yourself, and I think the homing missiles will just hit him.
I'm having a kind of hard time hitting him, but
It's pretty tricky because your movement is not the same amount of movement as the missiles, so you have to kind of reacclimate. I do like the actual level itself, like visually it's a nice little...
It's very weird. It's like
Yeah.
you're flying through some sort of bizarre asteroid field, but like some of them have volcanoes or something.
Are those like satellites that are spewing fire?
Yeah, I
for
think
no
they're
reason?
mining or something, like they're just getting bits and pieces.
I love how that portrait of your dude on the top left looks just kind of weird in a way I can't
It's-
quite
Yeah,
play.
it's entirely
just
different
not
art style than the rest of the
in
game.
or on the loading screens. It's too realistic. It's weird. Very Amiga-esque. That's
Yeah, like,
this
this is,
ring he's got.
His
He always,
weird
he
eyes.
always has a shit.
You know, I bet you if he dropped a particularly nasty news, he'd probably pop out of the bathroom and say, "Excellent!" Give the double thumbs up.
it's very satisfying to set on fire, I'll say that much. There's a certain point when you start to welcome it.
You should probably still say "Wexcellent." It's like, wow, this is some Wexcellent fire. That's totally like chafing my balls. Because that's totally 90s lingo for you right there. We're hip and cool with everybody. You know what's
I
gonna
don't
be
know if
sad?
we mentioned that his name is actually Wex. Like, that's kind of
Right.
important to understand why he keeps saying
Wexcellent.
Wexcellent, because that's his fucking name.
Yeah, that's his first name, so he had to make a pun there.
Alright, where now?
Oh, that's a good question.
Um,
don't know.
Yeah, like, Crate Escape is next level, I think,
I remember that
with the
looks really
machine
good
gun
looking.
guy.
Yeah, that
I
was
think,
the urban one, wasn't it?
I think Outpost Anon is the other minigame, so maybe try that one.
I like this level select map because, again, it's very PlayStation-esque, but you're slowly curving inwards to the center, which is kind of cool.
I like the way that all of the planets are rotating in different directions and different speeds, so it kind of breaks your eyeballs.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah, so this is the other game, and he explains to you how to play it.
And creepy realistic Wex returns.
As well as
And this
whatever
one's
that
actually
mosquito
quite
guy
clever.
is.
Like, this is another, like, really good idea here. This one's quite easy because you just have to get next to them and hit square, and then you can just throw them into the wall over and over. But there's
This is
a
like
more
that
difficult
one
later.
that, what was it? It's not a problem from Earthworm Jim.
Kinda, yeah.
Except this time you grab the guy and it's not a huge, tedious, like, battle.
That went on
No, this time
forever.
you just
not a
flap your arms
problem.
like a wild man.
Now, can he grab you, or can you only grab him?
I'm not sure.
I think he can grab you. It's... But this is like the first version of the stage. I think there's 2 or 3 after, or at least there's
Like
2.
Danny Asteroids.
Right.
Yeah. So the later one is more difficult, or there's another guy you fight after this guy, and he might be harder. I believe you can duck onto their back, yeah, and then you can ride them into things. So, because it's got all those like bits and pieces that you can
On the side,
run
yeah.
into. So,
Okay, I like that.
yeah, if you get on his back, you can drive him into the juts and things that stick out.
See, again, there's a lot here that isn't that you don't see in a modern game. Like sort of these sort of like trying to make every stage feel different from the last. Usually, what they do is they just keep refining the gameplay and just adding new abilities on top of it, so you get better and better at the
Okay,
game.
you just grab me.
Uh-oh.
Well, I would say that you know, part of it is they have to divide this game up into load screens, whereas like newer games sometimes don't do that.
Yeah, they
so
don't even have to do that, and it's all
include whatever they
integrated
want.
in the game itself. So this you wouldn't have a mini game like this. This would just be something you can do at any time, really.
Thinking about this, MDK has a similar sort of format where it has a couple of the, like,
Yeah.
the landing mini game when you have to go to the planet, some other things.
There was
And
the
yeah,
landing minigame, there was the stream sequence at the end of each stage. Kind of funny, this almost feels like a successor to that one in a few ways too, in terms of the general art direction and just the weird space alien theme.
Right.
I like the robot design, yeah. I don't
Yeah.
think it's deliberate, but they almost certainly be the Star Wars droids in the top right. You know, the
Episode
useless
1
battle
battle droids.
droids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That didn't hit until what? 1999, 2000. So this game was what, 98? Was it
Yeah,
later
no,
than
it's
that?
obviously that. I don't think either group was inspired. I'm pretty sure it's based on just a classic robot or something.
Well, I'm trying to think. It's probably something out of heavy metal. On it. I can't remember if there's anything like that in Wizards. I mean, you had Necron 99. It's kind of vaguely like that. It's a great movie, by the way. You should
I believe
totally
this is
watch
the last guy you have
Yeah.
to meet.
I gotta say, that dude from the last...
Is there a
Things
time
TV
limit on this?
series-
No, there's not.
No, it's changing. Like, I mean, you got like lots of variety in the stage graphics.
Yeah, this is a really cool video.
So yeah, in some areas you'd probably want to react just by throwing them, and in other areas you'd want to actually drag them into the walls and stuff. So there's strategy there.
I kind of wonder how this is working from a map layout standpoint. Like, is there some weird render target camera weirdness going on here? Like, is the whole thing actually mapped out?
I think it's actually
I'm-
what we would call procedural. It just chooses a different, you know, it loads up so many set pieces, and then there's like a brief corridor that leads you to the next one or something.
All right,
It
we're
just picks
next.
them.
Oh,
Yeah, you can tap through, keep tapping. I mean, I don't remember the stage names, to be honest.
Quagmire
It's been,
Run, Drench, Beast Engine.
I mean, I know
Stride.
what Drenched is. You could go for, yeah, that's the boss fight. I think the boss fight has a whole extra stage there. Yeah, Drench is pretty interesting. There's lots of water and drowning people.
We'll check that out then.
The Beast engine, you get to ride on the Beast, and the level after that, it's like the Andy Asteroids level, except you're riding on the Beast and you have to catch up to them, and then you take a bite out of them.
I like how
Oh
each
crap,
stage
must
is...
be a time.
Time? That's the thing I would say. Sadly, he's not here, but there was something I was going to say. There's some elements in this game that reminded me of a dream I had once about a new Earthworm Jim game. Like, one of the ideas was that you had to, like, guide this really helpless creature through the stage while slowly feeding it, like, the right size of, like, enemy until it got big enough that it would just eat everything in the stage. And I believe there's something like that in this game, isn't there? Is that Beast Engine, or... I remember I was talking to you about that once, Cal.
Sorry, I don't think there is anything like that ultimately in this. You
No,
might
that's
have to
a shame.
feed enemies to Beast, but it is just like a toggle, I believe.
I'm sure there's some game that does that, though.
Kind of reminds me of Katamari Damacy, actually, with the whole Katamari size mechanic,
Right,
but
but
that's
there
not
was a
quite the same
combat
thing.
element to it.
Oh, geez, that's somewhat violent.
Wow.
Yeah, they drown, man. Watch out for that plant.
Yeah, that just totally smushed
I know
him.
I'm behind, but yeah, whatever.
Well, he can take that into account for future posterity.
Like, cool.
Trying to think, there was something
Again, like,
else too. Oh, sorry,
This
go ahead.
level's really cool. That's one of the reasons I asked
It's
you
very
to
visually
pick
interesting.
it.
Yeah, it's like in a bunch of roots or like a swamp or something.
Yeah.
This
It
game
almost
looks
like
great.
Rayman 2. Like the start of Rayman 2 was a lot like this.
I like that a very subtle distortion effect on the background.
There you go. See that
Yes,
plant
smush
right
the
there is like the
enemies, right.
tentacles from what was it, the Peter Puppy stage, Jim, the angry like Unipus or whatever they call it.
You be careful in that water. You'll just eventually sink like a brick and drown.
Well, at least you can stand on it or swim in it for a little bit. Does it actually slowly damage you, or is it more like a time?
You get a
limit
few
to
seconds to
get
climb to the surface, but I died.
Oh.
out? Can you not jump out of the water, or?
No, you have to climb to the edge.
Yes, it's because the plot reasoning is that the rig is quite heavy. So he
The
can't
real
just
reason
swim
is
out.
because they didn't want to program in
Okay,
swimming.
you can't climb up that way, I guess. This is pretty further in, so I can understand me having trouble, since I'm skipping ahead.
Yeah, I mean, if you're having too much trouble, you can just jump out of the stage. But if you get a little bit further, this is one of the levels where your character actually interacts with his body that you rescue in this stage. Because the character in this stage is a sentient puddle of water. But he is inside like a space suity thing, so he just floats through the water and you ride on his back in this stage.
They had so many good ideas. I'm
that's an
just surprised they weren't able to introduce more story elements.
Okay. I kind of wonder if they're planning
While
to at
9
some
ended up
point.
being rushed out, I'm assuming they spent so much time mucking around on the halfway point and Shiny was busy running out of money. And they,
I wonder how far in development the 2D version was.
It's a good question.
Because that might have taken up a lot of development time switching over like that.
Right, it probably cost them a lot of time and they just had to quickly get something out. The fact that they were able to get something out like this that looks this good and is
I'm just
functional.
bummed there's like literally no screenshots or video of anything of any early versions.
honestly,
Well,
if there's no screenshots of video, I gotta question how far along they would have been.
Right, they must have just been testing it out and it must not have worked. So, because as you can see here, these 3D graphics are really mature and really well developed. Like, so they clearly didn't go down the 2D path for very long.
Yeah.
That was... Probably should have gotten those missiles.
There was a grappling thing. You were supposed to shoot the grappling thing.
I missed it, sorry.
Hey, 0 counts in this game. Good. It's not like most Euro platforms.
I do have one continue if I need it, so...
Right.
If all else
Well, you can
fails,
just
I
use
can
the
just...
level select sheet again. I meant really.
True.
So yeah,
There
this
is a
one of those
99
games
life
that's really
sheet if you
short.
want that.
Yeah, I'll take that as well.
So this is one of those games that's really short but really hard, correct? Because you only get one continue.
You start with no continues, but you get another by getting 99 of those skiers and finishing a stage.
Oh, okay. So
Or
it's
by
a
getting
lot more
100%.
generous.
It's you've got restore health and 10 extra grenades. I don't see a 99 life. I thought there was a 99 life sheet. Oh well. Nah.
Really, having more continues would be more valuable.
But you don't really need to continue since you can save after every level, which is okay, I guess.
Yeah, it's
You
kind of
can
weird.
save after every level. Yeah, it's one of those like that PlayStation middle ground where you can save, but inexplicably you have continues and lives, and you can get a game over.
There's still modern games doing that, like Nintendo games do that. They still adhere to that formula.
Let me see if I can-
Well, they do. Nintendo's really strange because I know, like in Super Mario 3D Lands or whatever, you get game over and then it just goes back to the game. It's really strange.
I honestly
you
think
run
someone
out
at
of lives,
Nintendo is
and then
just
it just
demanding
more.
that they do that, like he's mandating that they have to have game overs,
That was
even
not
though
a good
desperately
idea.
they want to get rid of that.
I assume it's for the kind of gamer that likes to have that sort of element.
Well, I got one up, but I died for it, so good job. Me.
Go you.
Win-win.
Yeah, this is a tougher level. This might actually be the toughest level in the game. I'm not 100% sure, but it's mostly because this one's got a lot of drowning and high-profile risk.
Right. Any
Irritating
water stage
jumps.
in the game is going to be pretty tough, usually. Because every game's got to have a water stage.
Well, obviously.
This is not a sewer stage, I guess.
I do think this game looks
Suicide-
fantastic, though.
This is
Sewer
kind of
stages-
the earlier stage,
Yeah.
because it
Yeah,
has,
but it's-
I don't know, it has fire.
Yeah, so it's a fire grotto.
Checkpoint, which is great because you're out of lives.
Yeah,
What was I going to say? I don't even remember now. It's something related to sewer levels. I'm still
were
shocked that's
talking
still
about
a thing in modern games. Like they're
fire
still doing
grottos?
that. Especially Call of
Be
Duty.
careful,
Like,
when you make that slat on the ground, you take damage. Just
right, yeah, you take a very
Hey,
tiny bit, it looks
I
like.
didn't notice. I didn't notice, unfortunately, but I'll try to avoid that. I guess I'm on the right way if I'm setting checkpoints.
you can't go the wrong way in this game. Like
It's
the
pretty
only way
linear
to go the wrong way in
progression.
Wild 9. Yeah, there's like points where you can go left or right, and left will give you like a life or something, and that's the only
I
way.
don't want to go that way yet.
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
you need
yeah.
the enemy.
Yeah, there's just a smackdown tree waiting there.
It's very subtle.
The Whomping Willow.
It's sort of subtle, but at the same time, it's moving quite a bit. Hey, take damage if you just touch it. Jeez.
Okay, you know what I love about 2.5D games? Parts where the camera just sweeps around in a circle like that. I love
You
that.
know how many 2.5D
Yeah.
games do that anymore, though? Almost none. That was, like, exclusive to, like, PlayStation games, almost. Where they would do these sort of sweeping camera changes. Like, Pandemonium would do this all the time.
It's a really nice effect.
Right. It's hard to program those plane
Pandemonium,
transitions,
though.
I think.
On the flip side, it can be really hard to follow what's going on when they do a transition like that.
True.
I do like it, though, because it adds depth to the game. It actually earns the half a dimension.
Well, yeah, I mean, everyone did it. Like, Corona did it as well.
Pandemonium did, yeah.
Ah,
Did it
crap.
mega hardcore.
Is he drowning? He's gonna drown.
Yeah.
Somehow you had another life.
you drowned with the guy.
Somehow I had another life, though, so I guess it's okay.
Are you
Yeah, you
sure you're
picked up an
not
item a
using
bit
some
ago.
sort of cheat or something that gives you infinite life?
Actually, I saw him pick up a one-up item a bit
Oh,
ago.
Yeah,
okay.
keep it alive. He's good.
You know, I'm noticing something really interesting about how they did the water in this. Like, the water itself doesn't actually have much texture or substance to it. It's just kind of an invisible barrier that the background takes over for the visual look of.
Right.
Well, Shiny knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
There are still games that do that, by the way. They use like a background texture, and then they have like when you interact with that plane, the water plane, it actually splashes and such.
Yeah.
So you can tell it's there.
Definitely a really good optimization trick, especially for the hardware.
Yeah,
For some reason I have the
that's
Bubsy
simple
first stage
stuff.
theme stuck in my head, and I'm pretty sure that's the exact opposite sort of music that would be in this game.
Yeah.
It's currently not
You
playing
always have
music. I don't know if that's an emular issue
It's
or...
hard not to. It's so catchy. I'm not sure why I was thinking of Bubsy though, because maybe it's the fact that you get horribly tortured, or you horribly torture things in this game, and you get horribly tortured in Bubsy, so the wires got crossed in a strange way. Now you are the torturer, not the tortured. Turns out Wex is actually Bubsy, hence the catchphrase. What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, I think you're supposed to go underground.
Yeah, you're supposed to go the opposite way, it looks like.
Are those pterodactyls?
Oh,
Yeah,
jeez.
they're
Oh,
robot
crap.
pterodactyls.
I must have missed a grappling
Get-
point.
You did. You
get
massively
like a,
missed it.
Oh no! You gotta fire your gun out while you do it. But yeah, that guy that's there anyway was gonna beat you in the face.
Let's try another level.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you could do. What is it? There's the Beast Engine. There's also the stage with the Crystal Person, which I think is the one after Beast. What's the name? I think it might Crystal Mine. It's either Beast Engine or Crystal Mine would be the ones that I would pick.
Let's try Beast Engine. We'll try the one after that.
Might as well show off the final boss too, because that's pretty interesting. The way you
Yeah, I
fight
can do
him.
that.
It's almost exactly from Contra Hard Corps, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a boss exactly like that. It's like the alternate second stage boss or something.
How many bosses does this game have exactly?
Just that one, I'm pretty sure.
No, there's a boss on a different stage, but he's not a full stage. It's just you fight him.
I guess
So
that
there's
one
two
guy
bosses.
on the asteroid stage counts, sorta.
Yeah, it depends if you count those as bosses. Because there's a guy that tries to kill you by just hitting you with his hands, and he's in the background, and you have to swing him, swing his bombs back at his head, I believe. I think you have to stand in front of that switch, and then you have to like push down on it to
Okay.
activate it.
You know, looking at this and thinking of the mechanic, this is actually kind of like an American take on Mischief Makers.
I can see that.
Because there's a similar grabbing mechanic there. There's a similar sort of using your enemies to progress through the game. You know, just messing with them.
Shake, shake.
Yes. The shake mechanic actually was also kind of in, what was it? So Mirage, you'd beat up enemies for their pocket change.
Oh yeah, that was the other treasure game to have the whole color switching mechanic, wasn't it?
It was one of the first, I believe, yes, along with, what was it? I'm trying to remember the name of it. Radiant Silver Gun, there you go. Those two had it, but Silhouette Mirage had the more refined version that's closer to Ikaruga.
I was just about to grab that health. Too.
Really, all of Treasure's games have had weird elemental things like that. Now that I think about it, or most of them did. Gunstar Heroes definitely did with the weapon elements that you can mix together.
You don't get much invincibility time. It's just kind of the these guys
Yeah,
hard
that's
to deal
pretty
with.
typical for a Western or Euro game. I honestly think that's
especially
intentional.
in this game, they really don't want you to just walk through enemies and be like, nah, I'm fine.
Right, that's why I assume they did it, because it's not that hard to program an invincibility timer, I assume, because once if the player takes damage, they have a pain state check for that, I believe.
Well, you can see he blinks for a while. So
Right,
it's like,
yeah. I'm just mostly thinking in regards to Turking, because I honestly believe that was intentional. Given the way that game is structured, it's supposed to be kind of like Contra, but
yeah, how could it not be? I mean, it's clearly intentional. It's more generous than a lot of games would otherwise have been.
And Psychotic Oscar was a pretty noticeable influence too.
right. And that had the more traditional one hit you die, I think, sort of thing going on. Oh,
I
wait,
think
did
you
you
can
have the
squish enemies with other enemies, Bob.
I need to try
Yeah, you
that
can
too.
definitely smack them into each other, I'm pretty sure. I like the visuals in this stage.
Yeah.
It has a very Buttville look to it, like out of Earthworm Jim, with the tentacles and the weird gooey stuff in the background.
They did a lot of the black or minimal backgrounds in this game because obviously the poly limit that they were working with was pretty low.
Right, but it creates this nice silhouette effect.
Yeah, they got some good mileage out of that.
A lot of 16-bit games did that actually too, especially on the Genesis, where color palette was very limited. You'd have a very simple background, but you could do a lot of cool things with it.
I mean,
Wasn't
part
it-
of this is that like, I don't think they used the same tricks that Crash Bandicoot did to really push extra polygons. Like, I think this is kind of the maximum amount you could do, but also without using some hardware tricks.
Yeah,
to
the
get
stuff
around
they did with the
the
Crash
poly
game
limit.
is crazy. Apparently, it literally kind of broke systems, apparently, because of just how much they were doing. Like, the PlayStation literally could not handle all they were doing in those games, from what I heard.
Well, what happens is Crash Bandicoot cheats very, very heavily. That Sony had a rule, and it was you couldn't make more than a certain amount of disc accesses per however long of gameplay or whatever. Because if you're aware, like, you know, when a disc tracks, it runs along a track, and that's not healthy for the track. So the more you do, the faster it breaks. That makes sense. Now, especially at the time, the PlayStation 1 has an infamously shonky track reader. Not as bad as I believe the Sega CDs, but it's still very chunky. And what happened was Crash Bandicoot actually streams its levels, which means that
It's constantly
accesses the
accessing the
disc.
disc.
yeah, it tracks like 3 or 4 times more than Sony's allowable maximum, I believe. But Sony basically were like, yeah, just do it because Mario 64 is a game that exists.
No load times. It's the only advantage of the cartridge format.
Yeah, you get a lot less workable storage space, but at the same time, everything's basically instantaneous there.
A few
So
N64
obviously
games
with
do have
Crash-
load times, though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Some
like
Super
use
Nintendo
that
games
guy.
actually had them too, but those were more tied to like additional macros and stuff and like compression and all that.
Okay, here's the actual beast of the level, right here.
Yes, you can eat guys. And I believe you can scare their skin off or something by screaming at them.
That's just brutal. Huh, he looks like a slick.
Pretty brutal. You're right. He does look like a snake.
I guess that was
Yeah,
just
you
easy
can
to
build
render
mesh in.
too, with the teeth. Oh, you died
Oh,
already?
you died
It's okay, I got a couple more lives.
What happened there? I didn't quite.
I don't know. I guess he said so low damage that a single hit killed him, and it killed the beast too for some reason.
Yeah, that's pretty typical in this game. Like, once your health gets low, you just kind of die.
That's true of most games. But
Yeah. Well, I mean, because the way this game's hits work, you just sort of don't really notice that you're dead.
It's your health bar's kind of vague until you're pretty much about to die.
You'll know when you're about to die, because it goes to, like, blinking, angry, red, barely alight. That's when you, like, yeah, probably die.
Yeah, now I'm about to die.
Oh,
But,
there's a checkpoint up
yeah,
there, so you
like,
might
Crash
wanna-
Bandicoot does this amazing thing where, like, apparently the PlayStation doesn't actually render polys that you can't see. So they had immensely high detailed stages, but you couldn't see them all at once because obviously it's a linear stage. So it's basically loading these high quality, at the time, level meshes, and then it's streaming more of them so that you can have reasonably high amounts of data without the humongous load times or
I
whatever.
would wait for their grenades to go off first, Bob.
Yeah,
'cause
the
they throw
grenades
the
do a ton
grenades
of
and then-
damage is the problem.
Well, you basically bait them to throw their grenades and then you back up.
Maybe I shouldn't go that way. Wait, do I need to go that
Like,
way?
you can get off the beast. You don't have to use the beast, I don't think.
Right. You don't have to. There is something down there. It's something in a cage.
You need to get that. It's one
Okay,
of the
you can
very
scare them by
things in
roaring
this
at them,
game.
and they pee themselves. That's great.
Yeah, and then they just die when you touch them, I believe.
Or they melt. Last I checked, robots don't pee.
It's, exhaust fluid or whatever.
Right.
This is another character that I don't think you get to see. He just sort of appears on the stage and you eat him.
This is pretty
I mean-
typical for this game so far, it seems.
Part of it, I assume, was just that they were planning to make a franchise out of this game, I guess.
Who
They
knows?
Yeah, you never know with Shiny. You can never tell.
Actually, there was precedent for that, I think. I heard an anecdote related to MDK, but I don't know if that's directly relevant or not, so I don't know if I should necessarily mention that.
Well, yeah, if it's shiny related, we might as well talk about it.
So apparently they were just going to straight up call it Murder Death Kill at one point, but apparently the Shiny execs requested they change the name to something that's not that for merchandising purposes. That never panned out.
Right.
So assuming that's
Bob,
true, then
why
there
didn't you
is
pick up the hell?
theoretically some basis
Why?
for the...
Alright, let's try another stage. I blame the little cheat code.
Hmm?
I blame the level cheat code for making me suck, because I'm not prepared to take the levels ahead. There might be an issue, because apparently I can't get to the later stages without... I wonder, can I put anything on the map screen? Let me try that.
Why did you just load a save?
I was...
You should slam the box on him, Bob.
I'm
I don't
speedrunning,
think
man.
I don't know if you can slam the ball. You might be able to.
No.
Doesn't matter.
It's lame if you can't.
You might be able to. I mean, because, this is like, obviously any sort of physicsy game from 98 is going to be a bit chunky in places that don't really make sense. Yeah, so, this isn't Sacrifice.
Sacrifice is really good.
It's not Messiah either, which I've never played.
You should probably not play Messiah.
That bad?
No, you should definitely do Messiah. It should be mandatory to play Messiah.
Yeah, it should be mandatory so that you realize just how good you actually have it with most games. So you
What's so bad about
appreciate
it?
it more.
Messiah is the best game ever made, and there's no argument on that point.
It's the best
I
game
mean-
ever made to teach you that most games aren't as actually bad as you think they are.
Messiah is a game where you play as a fat baby that jumps into the backs of full-grown men in order to throw them off cliffs to break their legs. I mean,
Sounds
That's
great,
the
the way you
best
put
thing
it.
about that game, I would say. I don't know if it's got anything else really working in its favor.
you can play as Roller Skate Rocket Girl. What are you talking about?
You can also play a game that has literally no ending. It just kind of stops.
It's like Satan's like, I was actually Satan all along. Ha ha ha, game's over.
Oh,
Wait,
right.
so
that
the
game.
baby was Satan, or...
No, there was. It's dumb.
I'm
It would
all
take the
power
long
Put that
ass
guy
time
in
to
the
explain.
green. Put that guy in the green. Aw, it's too late.
Basically, it's a game with really great ideas. It has some interesting technology that was pretty well executed, and it still looks pretty nice because of the artistic choices they made. And it's actually a fully functional game. It works, but it also seems to be very incomplete. It's buggy in places and just weird. There's a lot of annoying jumping puzzles. Like, they kind of played it up as being like a proto Hitman or something, but most of it's just trying to go through these horrible gauntlets with like a scientist or something whose legs break if he falls just like 2 inches too far.
That sounds hilarious, though.
It kind of
game-
is, but not in the way you'd expect it to.
The
It's
Spelunker
clearly not
scientist.
finished. I believe it was delayed, and then eventually they just crapped out what they had.
It was supposed to be a PlayStation game originally. They were using some sort of tech to get higher polygons out of it. It was like an aggressive, like active LOD system. But what it does is it makes everybody look like they're made out of Jello. Like
Yeah,
they
it's really
wobble and they.
Oh, so
warp
you
it.
Quake 2 engine.
You don't get anything like
It's
it,
not
but
the Quake 2 engine, Bob. It's a lot weirder than the Quake 2 engine. Quake 2 engine has people that are made out of like Jello. This is like people like. Imagine if like I was sitting next to you, and like I was constantly warping between a higher and lower detail version of myself because the game can't seem to is trying to aggressively balance however many polygons there are.
Bro,
That's
some
like
I
what
mean-
the engine is like.
it's an interesting thing, and you don't notice it as much because a lot of the enemies are either dressed in like military suits or biosuits or wearing gas masks and overcoats and stuff. So it's clear that they kind of realized that their LOD system was a bit chunky.
They improved it with Sacrifice. I believe it uses some of the same tech. Especially
Yeah,
the,
we have to.
yeah.
Because that game has a lot of enemies potentially on screen, but it's also pretty large open spaces, and it
It
runs
still
quite
looks
well.
really nice though, because again, the artistic choices, the way the lighting and texturing works, it's a fantastic game.
It's a good-looking game.
So I hope you're enjoying my past run of Wild 9.
Boo!
He's gonna die. He's got no health.
And then it'll be taken to the Bubsy zone.
Da-da-da-da,
I'd like to imagine
da-da-da.
that should be a penalty box level in any given game. Like you just do badly at the game, and then you get sent to Bubsy, and you have to atone for your sins by beating like Bubsy or something like.
Naughty players get sent to the Bobsy Cube.
I really want to get the license to Bubsy. I just want to put him in
Who
stuff.
owns it? Because it's like, it was Accolade, but like, does Tony own it, or whoever bought a lot of Acolyde's old licenses?
I'm all power up.
We
Like,
should
that's
bug
the
Night Dive
idea.
to.
That the artist at least held some rights.
We should bug Night Dive to get Super Bubsy.
Yeah, that would be up their alley, and that's one of the very first HD ports ever. I mean,
The problem is they'd have to clean it up to make it actually work because it's very difficult to control.
That's kind of what they do, though, isn't it?
Depends. They'd have to have access to the source code. Which, given it was made by ATI of all companies, I don't think anybody at that company owns it. I bet you that's something that's completely lost.
Yeah, it's weird.
Bubble
ass
Bobble
little thing.
Syndrome.
I mean, you know, why play the game when you can watch the Bubsy pilot online anyway?
I don't think I can watch Bubsy Pilot again, not even after what I did to it.
But Bob, what could possibly go wrong?
I'm sure
Voiced by
the,
Rob Paulson.
I'm sure the designers of Bubsy ask themselves that same question all the time throughout development.
I think they
I
asked that
love-
question about 2 and not 1 because 1 actually had some clear thought put into it.
See, 2 wasn't unsuccessful either. I just think Bubsy just didn't, no one cared enough about Bubsy to keep playing it.
I think the
It's one of
most
those games,
effort.
yeah, that was popular for the time, and it just sort of came out of nowhere.
Honestly-
it was very popular, but
The most effort they probably put in Bubsy 2 was getting the Nerf license. Like, why was Bird
what the
Bubsy the
hell?
Nerf gun?
I don't know. Would they have gotten the license to use Nerf, or would they have approached Nerf and said, "Hey, we want to feature you in your game. You're gonna help us pay to make the game"?
that's usually typically how it works. Usually, if it's free advertising, you don't pay. Actually, I'm trying to remember if you pay for the license or if they pay you.
Alright, Cal,
Yeah,
give me that
what
code
you're
again
using
before I
it for.
forget.
Like,
Right,
it would
right.
be a case-by-case basis.
Let me make sure the code
But,
I'm gonna put them one more time.
Bubsy is clearly a, The code is up, left, down, R2, right, square X.
Just make sure I didn't forget. So yeah, sorry to go through it again, but... Oh well. I'm gonna go right to the
This is
last
why you don't game over, Bob. This is why you gotta get good at the real Dark Souls, which starts in this game.
Does anything like that weird osprey locomotive you just shove off the side show up anywhere else in the game, I wonder?
I'm trying to remember. Maybe? I don't know. It definitely could be a completely unique asset because they're ridiculous.
Snarboo, going AFK. BRB.
Did it. Make sure if you're gonna pick, that's the boss stage. This is the end of the game. Because there's the end level and the boss stage of the same planet. I mean, this guy's a terrifying apparition.
Yeah, he does look like that one boss in Hardcore's weird highway fight thing.
Yes, it's the highway fight. Now this is something you'll probably never see again. The fading into black background. That's just, you wouldn't see this again. Gotta
It
get
is
the
very
maximum
close to
amount
this
of
sort
those
of
poly
thing.
boys.
That must be crazy.
And yeah, there's the hero of the game, the female, clutched helplessly in that guy's arms, hands.
Flailing like a Stretch Armstrong doll in Hurricane Force winds.
She is set up as a strong, independent Irish woman with super strength in the manual. You can really see it coming through here.
I'm thinking it is something like Siobhan.
I don't think she has any lines.
Oh, I don't remember.
Okay, how do I hurt him exactly?
He will do like a hand attack, and then I think you either grab his hand, or you grab something that he shoots at you and fling it at him. Can't remember. It has been quite some time since I tried to finish this game. I like that he goes cross-eyed, clearly, when he does his laser eyes. Because there's no way his eyes are not crossed when they split. You may have to consider doing it, like maybe you have to grab his hand.
I got him.
Oh yeah. And that's really cool when you grab it. That's very, like, oh man, you actually grab the whole character.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive for how big it now was. Like, that thing's gotta be at least as big in terms of general size and poly count as the Metal Gear X's model.
Well, he's like all the poly count for the stage outside of Wex and Flailing Lady.
And there's like 2 generic pillars in the background.
Yes, the repeated pipe.
Maybe some of this boss might take a while.
I think he has different stages, but remember, this is like the only major boss in the whole game. This was, like, this is it.
Channel Snarboo. Back.
And yeah, like, I mean, this is cool and all, and it's at least like, this is a nice ending to the game, like, it's a nice fight, and the level before it is really long and really tough. But, again, this game feels like it's missing something, and I think in retrospect, a lot of PlayStation games feel like that, especially compared to modern titles. Like, they just feel somewhat empty.
Just don't feel that cohesive,
I
so to speak.
agree and disagree with that. I get exactly what you're talking about. They were right on the cusp of being able to make these, I guess, these new experiences and whatnot, but they just didn't have the tech to like add that extra little bit. But at the same time, there's a simplicity to them that I really miss. Like, they are what they are.
Well, with Wild 9, particularly, the
Right.
fact that the stages are all just independent things that exist makes every stage feel like there's a huge story that they're not telling, because Wex doesn't talk other than his catchphrases. The actual plot and levels aren't really spoken about. You get like I can't remember his name, the bad guy. He has like a long name. He like does a 1-paragraph summary of the stage. I think at the start of each stage, he says, "This is the Hellhole City and it's shit," and that's like the summary of the level. But
It just all feels kind of disjointed, I guess you could say.
yeah, like this game especially feels very disjointed because even like a lot of games, especially Japanese ones at the time, you know, the characters would walk into a room and they would be like, "Well, where do we go next?" And you're like, "Well, we're going to Planet Bozo to fight the King Idiot," and that's like there'll be some sort of progression. Whereas in this game, you just literally get dumped from planet to planet to planet.
Which was
And
the
while
same way it was in
Earthworm
Earthworm Jim and such.
Yeah.
And I
Like-
think with Earthworm Jim, I think maybe it got away with it better, not only because at the time, basically no game offered context, but also Earthworm Jim is just so insane. Like it is, the degree of surrealism in Jim is so high that it feels like a fevered dream. Whereas this game, the planets are kind of odd, but they still feel grounded in the real world.
Yeah. So it's not insane enough that just the lack of cohesion isn't typical, but
Yeah,
So
the lack
something
of
I want to point out for this boss is particularly the way Bob has to fight it. How is it that you don't end up crushing the girl that he has in his hands?
if you
Plot armor.
watch, she actually ends away from the being slammed in the ground, like she gets stretched.
Huh.
It's an
And you did say
interesting-
she's super powered, so I'm wondering why she's so hysterical and such, and why she's not
You know
trying to fight
why.
back.
You know exactly why.
I know why, but if you're gonna set up a plot hole like that,
Ugh.
you
They
better
just did
address it.
They're the Wild Nine, and she's crap.
mediocre one.
It would have been interesting if something they did with this game is that after you actually you rescue one of your friends, you could actually play as them, even if you
I
could
see,
only just
it's
switch to it
entirely
briefly in each
possible
stage.
That they thought they were gonna go in that sort of direction or do something like that, but they didn't because they couldn't by the end.
I wonder how much that they thought they were going to do merchandising.
Well, most of the characters have very distinct designs, so I would say that they at least considered it.
Yeah, I kind of speculate that was the direction they were going in.
Like, this is even set up even more for a cartoon than Earthworm Jim was, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, like everything about it is set up to be a possible cartoon. But you also kill the boss by the end of the game, so I don't know. You guys seeing the girl get stretched around? It's
Yes.
It's getting crushed. It's great.
Oh, man.
Like there is one more female character, and she is a crystal metal person, and she needs light to actually be able to move. So her level is actually aiming lights at her and getting her to move around, which is kind of fun.
Hey, these must be those crystal gems I was talking about.
Gotta make
But,
it socially relevant or recently relevant.
Yeah, and that's kind of a cool stage, and that's kind of like a cool character. Which again makes it kind of shit that the other female character is just literally like a part of the end boss, like she's just glued to his arm.
5 flailing red-headed polygons.
Sometimes she yells things at him, but that's about it.
Like,
Like,
Wax, stop
yeah.
saying excellent.
I'm gonna
You said that
kill
the
you,
last
Wex!
5 times.
Should I try it again?
Yeah, it's up to
you
you.
might
Up to
want
you.
to try the actual end level.
This is the last level.
No,
It's
no,
the
no,
final
no.
boss.
There's a boss. The end level is divided into the boss and the level.
Isn't that gonna
The
make me
act-
lose the level select sheet if I quit, though?
No, I think it's you back to the planet select screen.
Yeah,
I
we'll try
believe.
it.
And if not, bye.
Yeah, I'm not... I'm sure you would all love to see Bombless for the 3rd time. I gotta work on my speed runs.
I'm surprised you didn't save once you got
Okay,
the level
we
select
still
sheet
got it.
working.
You know, let's do Beast Run.
Beast Run is worth looking at, and then you can do Palace Khan. Because Beast Run, when I played Beast Run when this game was like newer, I loved this stage because it looks really cool, and it's like this is a great looking level. Like obviously it's using
Wait,
like
Colonel
very similar.
Crag? Wow,
Crag.
this is basically like a better version of those Mode 7 mini games from a lot of SNES games.
Yeah, like, I really like the presentation of this stage.
So we're trying to
Yeah.
catch a cyborg Boris Karloff.
It's more like he's like a floor buffer that's become a colonel somehow, because his
And the
arms
fact-
look like floor buffers.
Yeah, like, and he chops down through the cacti and stuff. So it's like really cool stuff going on in general.
This kind of reminds me of Amok, the general visual style. But
Yeah,
that,
yeah, I
that's
would
an
say
interesting little
definitely.
game.
And
it had
obviously
voxel
since this whole stage has like, you know, little random creatures jumping around and
I like the lens flare a lot. That's something you never see in games these days, is lens flare.
no one can do lens flare because it doesn't make sense. Lens flare only occurs when you have an actual camera. It doesn't happen in your own eyes.
There are some visual anomalies though that I think they do sometimes that actually occur with your eyes, like light flares and the like.
Visual noise and all that, yeah.
Right.
But yeah, like this stage is pretty cool. I always liked it. They obviously could use some really high resolution models compared to the rest of the game here too. So the beast looks cool and the enemy robot looks really well done.
So who is this Colonel Crag? Why are we chasing him?
But that's a good question. I'm sure that it would be interesting to find out if the game had any story in it at all.
Oh no, this guy that you use that's only in the stages is
Damn you, General Crad!
I don't even think it's mentioned in the manuals. I used to have this game at one point.
No, I don't think he is either. I think he's just literally just here. But I mean, like, I get it, because I think in Earthworm Jim and stuff, like, the evil crow or whatever just sort of shows up occasionally. Like, I don't
Psycho.
really
He actually is. All of the characters have descriptions in the manual though that they describe their role in the game, and then there's the comic book as well. I believe that.
I don't want to count the comic book because I mean maybe they planned stuff like that for Wild 9 but didn't get to release it.
Right.
Whereas
The manual
you know,
comic, yeah. Bubsy
Right,
did that
yeah.
too though. That was nice. Like the comic for that is
Bubsy
actually
included
really
its
nice.
comic, so fair enough.
That was actually a pretty
Then it starts
entertaining comic,
eating him.
too.
Oh yeah.
Oh. Whoa.
Oh, he's a beast. What did you expect him
That
to do?
beast is crazy.
Alright, let's see
He's
what the
gotta
last level's like.
Wix versus Karn. Palace Karn.
Palace Karn. If I remember, this level looks quite nice. I mean, all the levels look pretty nice, but I think I
Well, at
remember
least
this
the
one
stuff
looking
he's covered it isn't white.
pretty- You could use Photoshop to fix that.
Probably the first piece of Rule 34 this game ever had.
I'm sure someone out there is a big enough fan to have done something
It has
like
two
that.
female characters. There's Rule 34.
You're right, you're right.
Hey,
Yeah, I
do you
think
still
you-
impale guys on those meat hooks?
Yes, you need to impale them to go up that ramp. Or
Alright.
that platform.
Let me go back there.
Although I
then.
think it just takes you somewhere else. I don't think you have to go up there.
This is a very vertical stage so far.
Oh,
Oh, hey,
It-
conveyor belt.
It is very vertical. And what I said before, how you need to
Oh,
charge your thing.
wow.
Yeah. You need to charge your, you need to actually monitor your
Beam
rig
usage.
power level because
That was
otherwise you'll
amazing,
die.
though. It's like, yep, I'm totally swinging around. Oh, no, I'm dead now.
What's interesting, like I guess kind of like a bother about this stage is you can feel like this stage is like just about where they should have made like 2 or 3 more stages that were like this level of difficulty and stuff going on. Because the problem with only having a few stages is that this one really feels like it just gets rolling and then the game's over.
how many levels are there, not counting the gimmicky vehicle levels?
You've seen, like, by playing it right now, I think you've played every level but 2. No, 3, sorry. I think you've got 3 more levels that we haven't at least attempted to play. Which is not an unacceptable length for a game of its time. It's a little on the short side, but not too short.
Earthworm
And,
Jim
yep,
was
there-
pretty short, wasn't it? Sarky comparing this to that, but it is a very similar game, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, Shiny would clearly, with this one, making a game that's a lot more like a 16-bit game in terms of progression and length and all the other things.
Yeah,
This
the
does
whole
make a pretty
design
good
ethos.
unofficial sequel, though. Like, way better than Earthworm Jim 3D in every way.
Well,
Yeah.
it was a completely different team, right? So it barely counts. Like Earthworm Jim 3D.
For instance, this looks fun.
It is pretty fun once you get the handle controls.
Mhm.
Channel catering. BRBC.
This place looks pretty interesting. The color selection on that background is pretty interesting. The green and orange contrast, I hate to be repetitive in terms of speech, but they contrast interestingly.
Pretty sure those
This
little
is-
green things are 2D too, actually, looking at them.
Yeah, they kind of have that edge to them. Like, they don't really
Oh,
gel
yeah.
with the stage perspective. This is a largely coincidence since that one was by BioWare rather than Shiny, but MDK2 actually also ended with a Palace stage, though it didn't really look very much like this. Also, admittedly, I do think Wex's design looks a little bit like Kurt, though that really only goes so far as the whole black shaggy-haired dude, or the dude with shaggy black hair, to reword that in a slightly less awkward way.
I wonder where you ever saw him without his helmet.
In MDK, he actually does kind of take off his helmet for a moment if you, as part of an idle animation, and you've seen a bit more frequently without it in the second one, though I don't know if that's strictly the design Shiny originally had in mind there.
I'm trying to think of where to go from here.
Yeah, progression here seems kind of weird. I'm kind of betting you could do something with those gears, but I'm not entirely sure because they could just as likely be a decorative thing. There's an enemy factor though, so maybe you have to just ram enemies from the end of the gears and gum them up.
That didn't do it.
Huh? I dozed off for a second. What are we? What are you dying over?
And like a jar of cling peaches.
You turned into a can.
That
Can
amuses
of
me. Alright, so that's Wild 9. Overall, it might not be the best 2.5D platform on the PlayStation out of several, but as a spiritual successor to Earthworm Jim, I'd say it does pretty well. It's got a lot of good ideas, and it's generally a fun game, if
Yeah,
as
it's got some
shown
really nice
frustrating
visual
times.
design.
Yeah, it does. It looks very nice.
I
It
like
was-
that where you've paused it, you can see the classic PlayStation sort of texturing issues.
The warping, yeah.
So much warping.
You can see some nice dithering though too, as well.
I've never really
Yeah,
noticed
they-
the whole warping thing, but I guess I'm just too much a PlayStation fan to really complain about that.
How can
The
you
thing
not
is, like-
notice it?
The texture warping is more obvious when you emulate it. I think that people didn't care nearly as much when you actually played it on a blurry CRT because it was like whatever.
I know if it was
Yeah.
even obvious on a CRT. I can remember games like that having like looking really warpy.
I mean, they did
So-
look warpy. I mean, I'm not saying they didn't, but
No, okay.
when you have like when you up the resolution and you have crystal clear fidelity, it's suddenly like that's the only problem the system has. Suddenly, it's like this the text is just dragging as like all over the screen constantly.
No, to be fair, a
Whereas,
lot of
yeah.
other games of the era did have that problem. There's a few PC games that did.
Yeah. Well, it's like how much 3D engines are there? How far are they going to push it? How much processing power they're going to dedicate to that specific thing?
Yeah.
But yeah.
Anybody have any
It's,
final closing thoughts?
It's a game with
I-
a lot of potential. It just doesn't quite live up to it at times.
Yeah, also, I just remembered something. That guy you were chasing back during the hover bike sequence, the Cyclops robot dude, kind of looked like something out of a Toe Plan game from the little mugshot.
But yeah, like Wild 9 is it was not popular when it came out. I don't think it ever achieved any real success.
There were two big name
they
PlayStation
released
games
it
come out in the
kind of
by-
the
Let me think. I think MGS 1 hit by 1998. Then there was Crash 3 and Spyro the Dragon.
I think 98
so,
was the year of MGS 1's release, if I remember correctly.
so it kind of got swamped by a
So-
lot bigger games.
Well, by the time Wild 9 came out, people were not looking to play 2.5D games, and that did not help it in the slightest. I think it was supposed to come out in 97, but got delayed significantly.
Probably because of the
I
2D
don't
to 3D
want anyone
shift,
to
I
quote me
imagine.
on that, but I think that yeah, they it got pushed back a bit, and so it feels a bit rushed in places. And if you're a fan of 2.5D, it's definitely something to check out. I wouldn't really recommend it. Like, it's not like I would say go back and play it unless you're a genre fan, because I don't know. Like, it's hard to tell from watching it, but the hitboxes in this game are actually really chunky and really frustrating to deal
That's
with.
very much a shiny thing. That
Yeah.
kind of feel comes through very well, even with the new 3D modeling.
It feels like 90% of a game, and that last 10%, if they had have gotten that in, it would have been probably a classic. But it missed out on that, and without that, it's more of a for enthusiasts.
It feels like they're trying to do something, like get some kind of a story going, but it needed something like a cartoon or even just a comic book or anything, and there's just nothing there to really sell you on the setting they've got with them.
Yeah, and I think part of this is like if you look at it, what was like 90? I'm thinking right. 96 was like Mario 64. This is 2 years after that. Like, people didn't want this. They wanted huge levels that you flung yourself around in and surfing on stuff and climbing massive construct. And this is a very condensed, very small level that you just sort of hop along. Even Pandemonium does way more with the 2.5D because there's Pandemonium throws so much stuff at you. It's insane how much stuff Pandemonium throws at you, because like each stage is just a kaleidoscope of images and like just levels and just so crazy. Whereas Wild 9 is just, this is the level, it has these elements. This is the next level, it has these elements, and then it's just one after the other, and then if you manage to drag yourself through them all, the game just ends, and it's very unsatisfying to finish this game as well, so...
I have not seen the
Ugh.
ending. I don't know what it's like.
I can't even remember if there is an ending. I really can't.
I'm going to.
Given everything else about the story, I would be very surprised if they had any ending at all other than a congratulatory text crawl. It said,
I think that's all to say
But
about
I-
this game for now, though.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. It is what it is. It's quintessentially PlayStation, though. Absolutely. I
And
don't
for
know,
me, that's a
like,
good thing, but others may disagree.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the sign off. Play the game or don't. If you enjoyed watching it, you'll probably enjoy playing it.
And we'll see you next time.
Adios.
"Do, do, 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 do."